welcome back. Today guys, we got my Kraton 8S on the bench, and yes, she has got her original body on there with the X-Max bumper and the lights and the rear spoiler. And guys, this body looks just as nice as the Outcast one. I'm a bit torn between the two, and I'm really happy I've got the option to change between the two. It does take me around about 15 minutes or so to swap the bodies and the bumpers and everything, so it doesn't take much time at all. So today's video is going to be about replacing the Esc fan on my Kraton 8S. If you have watched my journey on this Kraton 8S, you would know that I did break a fan blade late last summer, and at the time I did look to buy a replacement and they were out of stock at Horizon Hobby and everywhere I looked, and they were going to be available again late November, early December. So I didn't really want to wait that long for another fan, and I have got a 25 tooth pinion installed on this, so I wanted the Esc to be cooled to its optimum with a full working fan. And so at the time I did end up repairing it. I did use some Araldite and stuck the fan blade back on, and it has been working really well, surprisingly guys. I have been jumping it, and also right now I have got the replacement fan for this, and I will be installing that just for the sake of having a proper fan back on there again. And I will keep the one I repaired as a backup in case I do ever need it in the future. So guys, when I did look to buy the fan for this Esc, I did end up buying the wrong one initially. So today guys, I want to be telling you what the difference is and which one you do need to get for this Kraton 8S. So this is the one that you need, and this is the original from Horizon Hobby. It's the Spectrum Firma Smart 160 amp Esc replacement cooling fan, and this is the model that has, if you look here, the loop wire, and this wire does provide power to the fan on the motor as well guys. And this is the one that you do need for the Kraton or the Outcast 8S guys. So inside this pack here comes with 4 screws, obviously the loop wire, the fan, and there's a coupler just there. And the model for this particular one is this here, SPM XS EF4, and the number 4 is the more important part of this model number guys. So I did say this comes in 2 versions, and I did originally buy the version that doesn't have this loop on there, and that model number is exactly the same except for the number 4 is a number 3. So it's an easy mistake that you can make guys. So I will be leaving a link in the description for this particular fan. I purchased this from Model Sports, and it cost me around £10 and a little bit for postage as well guys. I can't quite remember how much it cost. And I've had it for a few weeks now, and I've not had a chance to install it. So today guys, I want to be installing it and hopefully make sure everything's working again. So let's get it unpacked. So if you are just replacing this fan, then you will have all these components that are already in there, so it's probably a good idea to keep these as spares, so put them somewhere safe. But this is the baby that we need, and you can see there it's got the loop on there as well. Okay, so let's get the body off and do the pins. Just quickly before we start, I'm going to show you, got a lipo checker on the back of this body guys, and I've got it attached with a couple of cable ties. And if you have watched my previous videos, I have done the same on the EXP as well. And I've got a balance lead extender for a 4S battery, and this will connect directly to the battery. Let's get the body out of the way, spin the car around. We are going to be working on the Esc fan. And guys, what we're going to be doing is removing these 4 screws here, and you can see that I do have a fan protector guard on here. Underneath that I do still have the Spectrum plastic cover covering the fan as well, guys. So it just to be the same, we'll just remove them screws, that cover will come off, and then the Spectrum cover will come off as well. After that we need to unplug the ESC, and this is where it's plugged in here. Once that's unplugged, we need to remove these motor wires just to get them out of our way. We will then be able to squeeze the fan out and pull the wire back through again as well. And it should just be a case of putting the next one straight in. You do have to be careful. These wires on this ESC fan are very thin. You can see here I've got some electrical tape on mine. I did end up trapping that wire when I did the repair initially a few months back, and I did end up cutting that wire as well, guys. So be careful, you don't trap any wires. Make sure all your wires are free before you do start screwing anything down. So let's get it opened. It's 2mm, guys, you need, and you should just be able to pull them out. As in this case I've got the fan protector, so that should just come out with that. Put that to a side, and you can see I've got my ESC cover and the fan's just in there. And just on first inspection I can see all the blades are still intact, so really happy that repair's worked. So next we're going to be unplugging the motor wires. So what I'll do is I'm just going to put number 1 down here, number 2 just here, and number 3 just further away. So I know that's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. And once I've removed them wires, you can see this plug clearly here, and we just need to remove that plug, unplug it. Just be gentle. Once that's all unplugged, you do need to unplug it from the loop as well. So let me get you a bit closer. So from here you just need to pull this plug out from this end here. Get some pliers on that and I'll get that removed. The reason why we need to remove this is we need to feed this wire back through the grid system on this ESC, and I'll just show you. And the gap that it needs to fit through is only small, so we have to make sure that coupler comes off so we can feed that wire back through. Once we fed that wire back through, this whole ESC should be free and that fan should just fall at the bottom, hopefully. I'll get that done quickly. I'll remove that coupler and I'll be back with you shortly. Okay guys, I managed to get it out finally. So it's still got the coupler still on there, and I'll show you how much of the plastic I had to remove. You see I removed 2 fins in the end, and I did use a file to file it down. It might have been quicker if you did use maybe a Stanley knife, but with them wires being in close proximity, you got to be careful that you don't cut anything. I mean, if the fan isn't working at all, then you can just snip the wires and it'll be straight out. With the replacement fan, the coupler isn't already attached, so it will be easier just to feed the wires back through that same gap and hook it all back up again. That's the new one. There's the old one, and you can see the blade that I did repair. I used some araldite on it, and then what I did was I just went around all the rest of the blades and just reinforced it where it meets the center, and I did the same on the underside as well, guys, and that's been really good for me. I did tell you that I did catch the wire when I did reinstall it, so you can see there. So I just put a bit of tape over it. So guys, this thing, if you look here, just quickly show you, there's an arrow pointing forwards and an arrow pointing down, so that's telling you that this is the top side and that's the underneath, and the fan needs to be facing the front of the car. So this is the way that it needs to be installed. Now that I've got a bigger gap there, it shouldn't be difficult to get the wire through. Now with that bigger gap, you have to also be aware that that could probably lead to having some stones fall into it, into the fan housing again. Hopefully it won't. Just keep an eye on it. So again, make sure your arrows are pointing in the right direction. This is the way it needs to be installed. So I'm just going to pop it underneath. And get it in position and make sure that that wire is completely out of the way of any where it might get caught. Then it's just a case of pushing everything back, down, okay. So now we need to plug this back in. This is the first plug, and if you look where the plug goes in, there's actually a plus and a minus, so it's showing you which where this plug needs to be fitted. And on the plug itself you've got a black wire and a red wire, so your black's your minus and your red's your positive. So it's going to go in this way. Be careful, don't bend anything. Pop the motor wires back in, so as it was, this was number 1, this is number 2, make sure they're all pushed down, and just make sure the wire is out of the way, and pop number 3 back in. Double check that they're nice and tight. Don't want them coming loose when you're out bashing. So now all we got left is, I did say that you wouldn't need the coupler that you did get supplied with it, but you do need to install this because you couldn't remove the old one. And it doesn't show which way. Just pop it in. So there's the actual plug for the fan. Get my pointer. And what I've got is, I've got another loop that I've introduced into this power system to power the LED light kit that I've got installed. So all it is, you just got to make sure that your positive and negative, and your positive and negative on this side match up when you're plugging this back in. And hopefully it should just be a case of connecting it back up. Now we've got to reinstall the cover, and then this is the more important part, guys. 2mm hex wrench, and literally 2 turns. Just so the screw bites. Now I'll get some batteries plugged into it and we'll just quickly check that everything's working. Got some batteries installed now. Let's get the controller turned on. Controller's on. Let's turn it on. Now I know you can't probably see because of the cover that I've got on there, but I can see that that fan is turning in there. So that's a good sign. Now it's probably a good time to get your drive out and just give these screws a couple of turns now that the fan is working. And just to make sure that them screws do bite down, do not tighten them. They won't. It will mean that the fan won't work. So guys, that's sounding nice and healthy again. You can hear the fans working and there's no grinding noise anymore. So really happy with that. Looking all good again. You can see the lights are working. I do have a switch for the light in the center there, so quickly see if I can get that on. There you go. So this now gives me the option of running a high beam and a low beam. I'll quickly show you the rest. So you can see I've got the rear tail light on there as well, and then you can see the LiPo checker working away, and yeah, really happy with that. Let's get it back over again. Really need to turn that ABC off. There we go. So guys, if you found this video helpful, useful and informative, please like, subscribe and please leave a comment. It's been a pleasure like always, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. And until then, see ya.